Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Levi and this is Mopar Vcode. If you're new here, this is a build series on my 1970 Plymouth GTX. If you haven't seen my other videos, check them out and that'll get you caught up to where we're at today. But on this very episode, we're going to be going through the engine, detailing it. We're going to be using some heavy duty degreaser, getting the engine off, or getting all the grease off the engine block. And then eventually hitting it with some paint. This is just a single stage paint, Hemi Orange. We do need to install a new valley pan to block off the heat crossover for the old system, for the old carburetors. We no longer need that, and nor do we want that extra heat in the intake for the fuel injection system. After we get everything kind of detailed up, we're going to get them mounted up, and then we're going to start plumbing them. We'll get the stainless steel tubing, and we'll get everything kind of plumbed and routed back down to where we left off in the previous episode, down to the regulator and the fuel filter assembly. So let's get into it. Alright guys, so I just kind of wanted to give you kind of a walkthrough of the engine and the kind of the current status of it, and what we're working with here. So this is a 440 block with a factory Chrysler 6-barrel setup. We do have HP date-coded exhaust manifolds, and I did look up the numbers. They are correct. So you can see the paint's kind of just flaking off and whatnot. And one thing I wanted to point out is, like, on these valve covers, they're very similar to the 440 6-barrel correct valve covers, with the exception of this tab and this tab. Those tabs should not be there. So we'll go ahead and knock those off by grinding out those spot welds and knocking those off and making those pretty. And then we'll throw these valve covers in the sandblaster. Same thing with the intake. We're going to pull the intake, throw it in the sandblaster, and get it cleaned up. The choke, we no longer need a choke assembly. So my plan is to disassemble this whole mechanism, cut off this lifter actuating rod, and then fill this whole spot welded up or something like that to block it off, and then we'll just paint it over the same color as engine color, just to kind of block this off. I'm not entirely sure if they make a block off plate for that, but that's what we're going to do for now. We do have a new coil, so we'll get this tore off. The bracket should be painted engine color, and we'll get this cleaned up as well, this breather. Same thing with this whole side. We'll get the valve cover tore off, get everything kind of sandblasted. I do have a new alternator that we're going to be installing, but not in this episode. But we'll remove the alternator, the pulleys, and the power steering pump in this episode. We may most likely remove the exhaust manifolds as well, so we can get to the side of the engine to do some small detail work. And plus I want to try to sandblast these up and put some coating on them just to kind of dress them up a bit. But really that's kind of the nuts and bolts of this episode as far as the detail work goes. Then we'll work on installing the throttle bodies and getting them plumbed up. That should go pretty quick. The detail work is what's going to kind of drag us down on this episode. So I'll try to make it quick and get through as much of it as I can as quickly as possible. All right guys, so I think I'm going to start by wheeling this guy outside and hosing it down with some degreaser, heavy duty degreaser. Let it sit, and then either hit it with a hose and a brush, or I may even drag out the power washer on certain areas. Of course, I'm going to go ahead and remove some of the electronics, bag up the distributor, and you know, try to protect as much as possible. But yeah, so that's the plan, and let's get after it. Got the intake off, valley pans off, valve covers. The valley looks pretty good. I'm not entirely sure on the cam down there. I honestly don't even know what this cam is, but I mean, I see like kind of a shiny spot in the center, but no real like galling or rough spots on it anyway, at least. My lifters, my push rods are all good. Nothing's bent or everything feels real good. So, alright guys, so we got some components off the car here. We got the intake, valve covers, we got the distributor, water pump and housing, and a couple pulleys. I plan on sandblasting most of these components to try to get them cleaned up, but before I do, I'm going to go ahead and bake them. Yep, bake them in the oven. I've got a shop dedicated oven for doing like small powder coat projects and things like that, and I found that it really helps like kind of bake off some of any residual like oils or greases, especially like on the inside of the valve covers and whatnot before we sandblast them. This kind of also helps preserve some of your media in your sandblaster. So let's go ahead and prep them and get them ready for the oven. We got to remove like the seals and the any O-rings, gasket material, things like that. I've gone ahead and preheated the oven to 550 because that's how high most kitchen ovens will go. However, I found a hack for that. If you're really trying to cook something off, use the oven clean. So you go ahead and hit clean, and it'll lock the door, and it'll actually take it up quite a bit higher, like 750 or even higher on some ovens. So it's a little cheat for you if you're really trying to cook something off. But yeah, we'll check back. All right guys, well, I heard the timer go off. I think our cookies are done. Let's check them out. Oh yeah, well done. That's the way to do that for sure. Look how the paint just falls off. We'll throw that in the sandblaster and those things will look brand new. But yeah, that saves a lot of sandblaster time. In the meantime, while that was cooking, that took about 3 hours or so on the self-clean, and then it took probably about an hour for it to do its cool down cycle. But I got all of our brackets and hardware all sandblasted, degreased, ready to go. But I did go ahead and pre-paint the valley pan, the back of the water pump housing, the bottom of the intake, my throttle linkage on the bottom side, and then the bottom side of the valve cover cap. But what I need to do now is make a fuel line bracket for a bulkhead connector. So we have the block off plate where the mechanical fuel pump used to be, and what I'm planning on doing is the distributor would come out of here, right? The fuel rail would typically come off and go around the distributor and go down. So it'll be something like this roughly. We'll have to put some bends in it. But what I want to do is I want to come off of that bracket or that block off plate with like a piece of 1-inch strap and put a hole through it to create a bulkhead amount, and then we'll paint it orange to blend in. So we'll work on that, and we'll get the intake installed, or not really installed, but just kind of mocked up for now, so we can put a throttle body on the front, and then we can put our fittings and put the distributor back in just to kind of mock it up, get that line bent, and then figure out what we need to do for that bracket. Alright guys, so this is what I come up with for the hardline mounting bracket. Just a little flat strap, 1-inch wide, 1/8 inch thick, 9/16 hole, and then that's just going to mount right to that block off plate for the mechanical pump. So we'll take the plate out now and get it welded up, and then make sure it fits. Just like that, no big deal. So, like I said, we got a little block off plate action there with the tab for the bulkhead, and that'll shoot us off in this direction and down this frame rail back to our regulator, or actually it goes from the filter to this nipple here, comes up this tube, this riser, and then I'll flare this and it'll connect right to this 45 right over this distributor, and then those will just feed right through the other T's on the other throttle bodies. So that should work pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So we'll keep moving along here. Guys, here it is. Got it all painted up. It's cured out. It's been about a day or day and a half since I painted it, and just been kind of letting it cure. I don't really want to scratch it all up, but this is a shop line single stage, so it's a 2-part 2K automotive paint. It's not an engine paint or anything specific. So I had tried some other paints for sample wise, and that was like Eastwood, and I think there was another one in there that I got from another restoration place. I didn't really like them. It wasn't really what I was looking for. This one here I got at my local paint store here in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and it went on pretty good, really. Like I showed you in the pictures before, we did like a pre-paint. I even did the valve covers behind the water pump, the timing plate underneath the intake, the valley pan. And then after that, we scuffed it all up with a 3M red Scotch-Brite pad. Looked like this in the photo here. And then afterwards, wiped it down with wax and grease remover real good. A couple times, and then let it dry out, and we hit it again. I think I put 2, maybe 3 coats over everything, and it seemed to coat it really nicely. Like I said, it looks more metallic here, but there is no metallic in it. I think it turned out really good myself. A few things that I had to do prior to painting it or getting it ready. I needed a new nipple for this guy, the heater hose. This one was pretty chewed up. This one is chewed up as well, but the one that came in the kit was not the right one. It would not fit or thread in there. This one actually has a bird cage on it, on the bottom of it. I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but we're going to leave it. It's not too bad. I got a new coolant thermostat, and we made sure to mask these things off to kind of keep them blending in with the block. I feel like it kind of stands out like a sore thumb when you have something like this coolant sensor, and it's like bright and shiny like a stainless or a brass piece that looks out of place. So I think that looks clean. We have a 180 degree thermostat. Thermostat that I got is a USA made, but it did not have a hole. So I drilled a hole, a 1/8 inch hole. That just helps burp up any air that could be trapped in the block or in the thermostat housing, or the thermostat housing, and allows that coolant to keep on circulating. But yeah, I had to get all the bracketry. A lot of these spark plug brackets were not correct, so I got them all mounted up. New battery terminal cable. The old one was not the correct clamp, nor did it have the correct pigtail for the core support. So we got that, and we got a little bit of paint on there to replicate that from factory. We got new grommets for the valve covers, PCV valve and the breather valve. I had to wait on those for quite a while. Those took about 2 weeks to come in from the place I ordered them from, but I really wanted the correct one. This one has three ears on it, if you can see here, these ears. That's how they came from factory. You can see that I have a little sending unit back here. I did get some paint on it, but that's okay because I'm going to be replacing it. That way I have a good indicator. And that one's coming in the mail, so whenever we get that, we'll be all set. Alright guys, so before we start putting stuff on the car, I just wanted to kind of show you some of the things that I've done. Start with this battery tray. It's got a little pitting on it, and I'll probably try to find a new one here eventually. Just temporarily, I just wanted to clean it up. I painted it black. I know it's supposed to be body color, but I don't have any body color, so just as a temporary solution to keep it from looking like crap, putting some black paint on it. I wanted to show you the difference in these brackets, alternator brackets. One is aftermarket and one is original. Can you guys see which one's original? I bet you can because the bolt holes. But you can see the top stamp is a little bit different. Also, I learned that if you look at the edge, you can tell the new ones because they're laser cut and they have that cut look versus the old ones, the original ones, actually have almost like a smoosh look because they were originally stamped with a giant press. See, there's a better look. You can see how like half of it looks smooth and the other side is like coarse. That's because it's been sheared. So just fun fact if you're out and about, or if you're just curious, you know. I thought that was kind of an interesting fact. Well, I'm going to be using the original. I just needed the bottom arm bracket. If you look at this picture here, you can see the bottom part actually extends past the mounting location. So it was just kind of somebody cobbled it on there to make it work. But I got this bracket and I needed the correct hardware, the bolts, that one there, that one, for the mounting holes. They weren't the correct ones, so I got those, and this bracket came with that other bracket. I didn't need it. All these fasteners, they're black phosphate coated, but I went ahead and put some matte clear coat on them just to kind of keep them protected and keep them from corroding. Same thing with my distributor hold down. I did not have the correct bolt. It was just a regular like grade 5 bolt. I got this one. It's got the correct H. Did the same thing. Threw some matte clear on it. Same thing with the alternator heater hose holder. Sandblasted that and clear coated it. This alternator from Tough Stuff, it is a square back. It's not a round back, and I know it should be a round back, but I really need more voltage or more charging voltage at idle. I'm not really worried about using the whole capacity of this alternator, the 100 plus amps that it can handle. It's more or less what it can put out at idle is what I'm concerned with. But what I was getting to is the pulley came yellow chromated, and I went ahead and blacked it out because that's how it should look from factory. I do know that this pulley is different than the one that came from factory. The factory one actually had a lip around the outside edge here. But anyway, and then our choke plate, welded that up and finished that off with just paint. I know it should probably be yellow chromate, but I don't have that kit, guys. So I'm making do here. Maybe this winter I'll invest in a plating kit and try to get the yellow, silver, and black coatings as a project to do this winter, but we'll see. Throttle bracket. So I've seen these done a couple different ways. This nut sometimes is black phosphate, and a few times I've seen it on some more original, or cars that I believe to be more original. This is actually orange, so I just went ahead and went orange. I do have a phosphate nut as well that came with this bracket, but I'm gonna stay with the painted for now. The power steering hose, I cleaned it up, and then it should probably be like a silver chrome or silver plated, but I went ahead and sandblasted it the best I could with the abilities that I have here, and I think it turned out pretty good myself. I really wanted to stay with an OEM hose. This is an OEM hose with the crimp. That's what they look like, and it has the Mopar part number on the hose yet. So, and it's not terribly cracked out by any means, so I wanted to try to preserve that. And if I want to try to plate it later, we can always do that. The power steering pump, went ahead and disassembled the whole thing, cleaned it out inside and out, and repainted everything. The cooler as well, sandblasted that, cleaned that all up. I got the right heater hose. This is not date coded hose, but it's part number correct with the correct red clamps. And same thing from the return to the pump itself. So I thought that turned out pretty good too. And then the fan, disassembled it all together. The clutch feels pretty good still. I'm not too concerned about that. but without driving it and really seeing what it does, we're not sure. This is a Mopar original blade. Let's see, got some numbers here somewhere. Yeah, I can see them barely there, maybe. Yeah, you can see the star there and then the part number. So, yeah, so that was fun. Pulleys, they're both, these are original pulleys. And I know that because they have the S. That's what you want to look for, is the S. And the crank pulley has it as well. Right here. So those are OEMs. Let's see. I think that's about it for brackets that oh, the breather. This is the original breather. It cleaned up really nice, actually. Sandblasted it, painted it. If y'all are wondering what I use what I was trying to shoot for is semi-gloss. But from doing research, semi-gloss is not semi-gloss as it used to be. Satin is almost what semi-gloss used to be. Our paints today have just increased in glossiness. So you almost kind of go down in one sheen almost. But I thought the sheen turned out really good myself. So, but yeah, let's get this stuff put on. Alright guys, so on these alternators, this is just a reman core, standard square back. I think it's only like a 40 or 50 amp. This is the tough stuff, 120 amp. Trying to figure out the spacing, spacer situation here. This is the bolt kit from, I want to say Hoffman's. But anyway, so if you see here, it's a little loose. The old one, it has this collar or bushing in here. This one had a collar or bushing, but it was like it stopped right here. So I drove it out, but I'm thinking I'm going to need to drive this old collar or bushing out and press it in there. That way it can take up that slack. Let's see, it's tight there. It's quite a bit, so gonna need that guy. So if you're doing this, you're gonna need something like that. Alright guys, just a quick little thing on the distributor. This is just a standard Mopar points distributor. This engine, the 440 6-barrel engine, actually would have came with a Presto Light dual point distributor, and it would have had like a cast iron housing. Then they would have actually been painted black. So I don't have one, and I've been trying to track one down. But they are pretty pricey, upwards of $1,000 to $1,500 for a nice restoration piece, and even not even unrestored, they're close to $1,000. It's pretty crazy. But for now, I figure I could pay homage by painting this one black. I cleaned it up internally. The bearings look fine, or the bushings, the brass bushings look fine. However, when I tore it apart, this nylon collar that rides at the bottom of the shaft, that keeps the shaft tight up against the bushing, actually split out on me, as you can see there. And I tried my damnedest to try to find this online, and I don't know why nobody's making this specifically for this distributor anymore, but so what I found, I went to a couple different hardware stores, and I found one at Lowe's, actually, surprisingly. In their bolt section, they have Hillman, and I found these nylon collars, and they are almost identical. And you can see the part number there on that. It's a 3/4 by 1/2 by 3/8 collar. I kind of ripped it there for you, but it's a 3/4 by 1/2 by 3/8, and I think they're only like $1.50 for this 2-pack, so it's super affordable. But yeah, you can see it's pretty much the exact same collar for the most part. This white one might just be a slight thickness, slight thicker really on the outside diameter. But the inside diameter is exact, and it's a 1/2 inch diameter for this shaft. So the only thing we'll have to do is drill our 2 holes that pass through for the pin to secure the collar in the shaft. And that was something else too. When I drove out the shaft, the pin rather, the roll pin, it actually sheared off the end of it somehow. So I grabbed another one of those too. They had one right there, right next to it. So it's just another Hillman item, and it's a 1/8 inch by 3/4 inch, just a standard roll pin. That's all you need. So that'll work on that. So you can see it's the exact roll pin. So no big deal. So yeah, I was going to show you real quick how I assemble this back. Just cleaned up the shaft a little bit. There's no real groove or anything like that where the bushings are riding. And then I just threw some lightweight oil on the mechanical weights here, just to keep everything lubed up. And I am just using some lightweight gun oil. I'm sure there's some special lube that you're supposed to use on this, but I figured just something lightweight. I know you use motor oil on the top. There's supposed to be a little piece of felt that rides in here, and you just put a couple drops of oil in there, and that's actually, it just kind of drips down on the shaft, I guess, supposedly. The bottom one, I guess it wicks up the shaft and kind of lubricates the bottom bushing. So that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to throw this back together. We'll drill that bushing out and go from there. Alright, so I'm just using the old collar to kind of use it as a center. I'm just holding it on there and then putting a little mark. And I'll start it on one side, and then once we find the hole, we use the shaft to kind of line this up through the other side. That way we're getting it centered correctly. Just like that, our collar is back in with the roll pin. Spins nice and clean. Nice. Maybe some of you guys out there that have rebuilt these, let me know what springs you're running inside here for your weights. I'm running a 440 automatic, so I don't need nothing crazy fast, I don't think, as far as a throw out. But I looked at a few. There was like a Mr. Gasket had a set, and then Holly makes a set, and then I think FBO has a three spring setup with a plate. Yeah, so just maybe if you guys have done this before, let me know what springs you've used. I might need to adjust it once I get it on the car and see what this one's at. I'm not sure where this is at, so. Okay, that's all there is to it, guys. So this is a Petronix unit, just their standard igniter one. If you're not familiar with it, it eliminates the points in the condenser that's inside these distributors. You actually hook this right up to your coil and 12 volt power supply. So you don't need a ballast resistor. You can run it with a ballast resistor, but you don't get the full advantage of the full, if you have a larger coil, you won't be able to take advantage of that full capacity. So it's a kind of a neat little unit. I plan on running it initially to get the engine up and running. But then once I get it kind of running and get the FiTech set up, I plan on switching this distributor over to a magnetic pickup and use it as a trigger for the FiTech to do the timing. Alright, so we have the throttle bodies. I'm going to take a special gasket. You can see it's got a larger notch than the original ones for the carburetors, and they do matter which way. There's little cutouts in here for the vacuum ports, so obviously you can't flip it upside down. So it goes like that. Alright guys, so I had some problems with the rear throttle body. I'm not sure if it's the intake or if it was the throttle body itself, but I had troubles. I could get the opposite corners bolt started, but I could not get all 4 to go in and start. It just was, something was off just a little bit. I tried rearranging them and starting different bolts in different areas, but ultimately I ended up taking a 3/8 drill bit and drilling out all 4 mounting holes on the throttle body. And it doesn't take out much. It's just, I think they were 5/16 maybe before, or slightly over. But the 3/8 drill bit didn't take off much. So this is going to work out pretty good. I just got to tighten them up here. So discovered another issue. So that's 2 back-to-back already. So if you can see here, this front throttle body is quite a bit farther than the middle one compared to the rear one and this center carb. This is a factory cast intake, so it's not an aftermarket. You can see if you look back here, this stud, or this Allen, is hitting this body and actually not seating all the way down. So I can't really go back anymore and I can't move forward. So I don't know, I'm gonna have to probably pull this back off and try to get some different fasteners or something to put in there to try to see if it'll go down flush. So that's, yeah, something else. That did the trick. Grinding those heads of those bolts off really just barely made the difference, you know. You can see it just barely clears. So FiTech, you send some different bolts or recess your plate a little bit more. It's an issue. Same thing, I don't know, a little more wiggle room back here would have been great too. So far, drilling those out, grinding those heads off. You can see like how much they stick out. Like, I don't know. Some other kind of fastener would be great. But yeah, other than that, I noticed that this arm is very close to the intake runner. Can't really get you down there, but you can see it's just like a hair. It clears, it doesn't even scratch, but wow, tight. So I'll be curious to see. I'm going to try to reuse the same throttle bracket with factory throttle cable, because the center piece should be about in the same spot. The question is if it winds up with the cable in and out. I may have to space these arms in or out. I'm not sure yet. Haven't got that far. But they're on. quick rundown on how I did that. 45's coming off the throttle bodies to a T, and then so this feeds just like how it originally did. It came up from the fuel pump down below, and with the hard line came around the distributor and fed the 3 carburetors originally. So I did my rendition of it. Stainless steel, 3/8 stainless steel tubing down to a bracket where the fuel pump used to mount with a bulkhead with a 90-degree PTFE, and then it shoots down the frame rail, transitioning to a hard line. And then on the back side, so pumps up, feeds through, pressurizes all 3, gives you a little indicator here what you got, and then the excess flows down and hits the regulator that's down there, and that keeps like a back pressure of exactly what you set. So in my case, this is going to be a 58 psi setting for the throttle bodies. But if you come down here and take a look real quick, so you can see that hard line where it transitioned from that PTFE. Just got a coupler. We're using the frame rail clip to secure that. Hugs the frame rail, sneaks behind the regulator, hits the fuel. So it's coming from the pump in the tank, hitting this 10 micron filter. And by the way, I ended up getting one from Summit, excuse me, Summit. The one I had ordered from TrickFlow, it was on back order and kept staying on back order, so I changed my order to this. From what I can tell, it looks very similar. It may even be manufactured by TrickFlow, I'm not entirely sure. Very similar, and I'm pretty sure that the cartridges are interchangeable from the TrickFlow to the Summit. So so far I'm pretty happy with it. These have the Dash 6 male fittings already on them, so you can just go right to it with your pipe connectors. So I'll probably get a strap or something to put on this, but it's really pretty solid. But my regulator is tucked up in here. It is going to be kind of a booger to adjust, but like I said before, I think once I get it adjusted, it's going to be adjusted. It's not something you're going to have to do very often. I also think I could probably get down on this from the top with an extension. So one way or another, I'm not too concerned. But I think that turned out really well myself. So if you didn't catch my other video, these are Dash 6 or 3/8 feed and return from inline tube, and they fit pretty good. We routed them all the way up to the top, kind of in the standard location. It's a little dark in here, apologies, but to a bulkhead, and then from the bulkhead over to the tank, we ran PTFE, and then did my connectors on the tank there. So we're moving on from the fuel lines. We're going to start in on the O2 sensor for the exhaust pipe. And that system, it's a Bosch sensor. So it's a pretty common sensor. Comes with a little pigtail here with a connector, so you got some wiggle room. This is pretty flexible. So they recommend 10 degrees above the horizontal line. So horizontal, 10 degrees. I didn't see anywhere where you can't put it on the top. So I've got plenty of room up in here to put that on top. So I think that's the route that I'm gonna go, just to give it the best bang for the buck here. Kind of hard to show you, but Just kind of tucking it back up in here. Sorry. Kind of right there where I have those two marks. It's kind of right there where the floor starts sloping up, the floorboards. So we're gonna drop this pipe out. What are the odds of those bolts coming off? We'll see. If we have to, we'll cut them off. And then I'll drill a hole and actually weld this. It comes with clamps. You can clamp this on if you don't want to weld it, but this is a metal screw and bung hole, so you can just weld it on and be done. And so we'll get that done. And we have one bung hole welded in. We got our O2 sensor tightened down. And I went ahead and removed the clamp and put a weld on that joint there just to get rid of the clamp. I'll eventually probably get some new exhaust, but for now, we're on a budget, so this is what we're gonna do. But yep, we'll go get this put in the car and make sure it fits. To setting up some of the throttle linkage. This is a kit from FiTech that they offer for their six-barrel setup. It's literally just a piece of looks like hex tubing that's got a hollow center. They include two taps, or two taps. One's a left hand, one's a right hand. You basically cut this to whatever length you need, and you thread in your eyes and then bolt your eyes to your throttle bodies. So we'll go ahead and get that done. I do believe I'm gonna have to probably order another linkage, or another bracket rather, to be able to connect my throttle linkage, my cable rather. And then also, I don't have any kick down linkage currently, but I want to be able to hook it up. So I will also need a bracket to make that connection work. I found that Holley makes a U-shaped bracket, and I've ordered it. I'm not sure if it's going to work yet, but basically you would bolt it on one side, it would come over and then back up, and then give you a couple more mounting points on this side of that bracket. So anyway, for now, we'll get this linkage set up here. have it. There's the throttle linkage from FiTech. That's how their kit comes, and this is how it sets up on a 440 big block. This isn't exactly how the directions show it, but the directions show that these bars are on the same side. So like this would be on the inside, and then the inside on this one, and then the outside for this rear one, outside on this one. But you can't do that because the eye will hit on this linkage bracket back here, throttle bracket, and then vice versa, this eye will hit on the intake if it's on the inside. So I end up having to stagger them. So front's on the outside to the inside on the center, outside to inside. So it's kind of like a staggered look. I guess it doesn't look terrible. I don't know. I might end up changing it. I might try to get some original linkage from a real six-pack and kind of fiddle with that and see what that kind of looks like. But for now, this will get us going. It does actuate properly, I guess. I don't have them dialed in to, you know, where their blades are just barely moving or anything. It's just kind of mocked up. And then our original spring. This is probably not going to work. So this stud is part of the original six-pack setup or six-barrel setup. Your throttle cable would go on this side typically, and then your kickdown linkage and spring would go on this half. But you can see it's pretty well off. So that's kind of going back to that. There's like a C bracket that you can get from Holly, and it just bolts up to the bracket here and shifts everything over for another alignment. So I'm hoping I can just move this stud over and then hook everything up with the offset. So on the next video we'll go over that as well, but for now this is how it's set up. We got the spring, the linkage, no throttle action yet. It does not even, it won't reach, so even with it all the way forward. So those are just a few things my guy will have to contend with when you're doing this kit. All right guys, well hey, I'm going to end the video here. I think it's a good stopping point on this episode. So we accomplished quite a bit here. Stripping the engine completely down and getting it degreased, and then refinished with new paint. I don't know. I went around and around in circles trying to decide on the color. I went through several forums online, and then even I have some restoration manuals that have some specific paint codes. But just wasn't quite convinced on which one to actually pull the trigger on. And I got a couple samples and I sprayed them out, and wasn't real happy with those either. Finally, I just reached out to Keith over at Knoll Automotive, and he reassured me that this would be the correct one to go with. So I'm pretty happy with that choice, and thanks to him. But we went ahead and finished getting it all detailed out, got the fuel lines and the throttle bodies all mounted up, and the rest of the bracketry on the front, the power steering and all that went pretty well. Trying to make sure that I had all the correct fasteners. I was kind of anal on some of that stuff. That was kind of the hold up on some of it. I waited on several different items to come from different vendors to try to make sure I had the right components and the right parts. A few things that we need to do yet to get to the point where we can actually turn that key. We need to finish running the FiTech wiring harness, as well as upgrading our charging system, charging wiring rather, for the new alternator. We also need to install the radiator, the hoses that go with that. We need to install our spark plug wires. We need to finish up our throttle linkage and bracketry over there on that side. I do have a new voltage regulator. I wanted to go ahead and get a fresh one. That way we made sure that we have a good constant voltage. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. And the next episode, like I said, we'll get very close to starting it. I hope you enjoyed this. If you got any questions or comments or concerns about anything that I've done here, by all means, leave them in the comments below. I'll try to do my best to answer them the best I can. Just keep in mind that I'm just a regular guy in a garage working on an old car. So I'm not a professional mechanic. I'm not a restoration shop. I'm just a regular guy doing stuff. So hope you enjoy the journey, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care.